Princess Peach Showtime sees the titular princess take on a heroic role in order to save the Sparkle Theater from the evil witch Grape. Or so it seems. What sets the game apart from others is its unique theatrical setting and how it uses that setting to influence gameplay. The game both revolves around saving a theater and uses elements of theaters and theater tropes to design its levels. There's something I noticed in the presentation of this game that hints to me that something is not quite right about this theater, and that its main antagonist, the quote-unquote evil Madame Grape, is hiding something. In order to understand Princess Peach Showtime's big secret, let's first take a look at the game's setting. The Sparkle Theater is the main setting and hub world of Princess Peach Showtime. The entire game takes place within the theater, with all the levels taking place on the different stages. In the game, you go through semi-3D platformer levels designed around the type of play that the level is inspired by. What makes Princess Peach Showtime so special is that it steers so much into its theming that some levels can feel like an entirely different game. For example, the Ninja Peach levels play like a stealth assassination type game, whereas the Detective Peach levels play like a Nancy Drew-esque mystery game. Like I said before, the theatrical setting influences the gameplay, so much so that it sometimes feels like the game is happening on a stage. Some of the animations are even made to look like practical effects. For example, if something is on fire, it's a glowing set piece rather than a literal flame. The developers played around a fine line of immersion, as the game both takes place inside and is themed around a theater. I may have figured out why the game comes off this way, but more on that later. Let's compare this to another game that takes place in a theater, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. While that game also has settings that look theatrical and even has a few game mechanics based around theater, such as the audience granting you powers and stuff like lights falling on you and dealing damage in battle, those mechanics are nothing more than little fourth wall breaks that reference the stylization of the game. Mario isn't visiting a theater that's putting on Rogueport the Musical, he is literally visiting the actual location within the game's world. Princess Peach Showtime, on the other hand, doesn't act like Peach is literally going to places like a museum or a castle, but rather that she's going to the stage where those productions are being held in order to rid Madame Grape's minions from them so the show can go on. What I'm trying to say is that something is off here. Are the plays in trouble, or are they just that? Plays. Let's go over a few instances of some of these plays acting a little strange. The first time I noticed Princess Peach Showtime's unique approach to setting was in the very first level. When you begin the level, there's a castle in the background. Now, it's obvious that within this theater setting, that is just a tiny cutout of a castle put on top of a set piece, and not the actual castle in the distance. However, none of the NPCs act like that is a set piece. Stella is just like, look, the castle is over there. Don't you think they would drop the act if their whole way of life was at stake? Another instance of this happens later on in this same level, where a slightly larger cutout of the quote-unquote distant castle is lit to show a member of the Sour Bunch threatening the king. Now, the king shows up later on being held hostage in the real castle when you get there. And if the king is there in the real castle, who is the dude in the silhouette? And who is the Sour Bunch member keeping him captive? Did they make the trip all the way from the real castle just to show me that the king was in trouble? Another strange instance of this is in the second Cowgirl Peach level that begins with a train coming through and destroying the town. When this happens, all the Theets are like, oh no, our homes are gone. But wait, you guys live here? I thought this was a set. Aren't you guys just actors? Wouldn't you go home at night? Wouldn't it break actors' union rules to require you guys to sleep on stage? Then we've got this moment where your horse returns to you, and Stella remarks that the horse came back. Oh my goodness, it must have liked you so much. But the horse is not alive. It's on strings. Stella, how do you not know that? What all these instances I mentioned have in common is that they tread a fine line between the theater being in trouble and the show's moving on as planned. What I am trying to figure out is, which is it? With all the strange things going on within the plays, I have come to one big conclusion. The Sparkle Theater is one big lie. These plays are not going wrong. They're going exactly the way they are supposed to. And the Sparkle Theater is just an excellent immersive theater experience. Sure, you could go to a boring regular theater where you sit in chairs like a peasant, or you could be like a true princess and head to the Sparkle Theater where they put you in the show. Seriously, where would the audience even be in this theater? They're huge. Do the chairs move? Or are you the audience? Oh, and Grape? She's just an actress. You've got to have someone play the villain. Why do I think this? For starters, it makes a lot of the stuff I mentioned about immersion make sense within the world of the game. But also, think about it. Most plays have villains. And if Grape and her Sour Bunch never showed up to the Sparkle Theater, who would the villains have been in these shows? It seems like we meet every Theat, and they're all still in costume from when the place got taken over. Not one Theat is dressed like a villain. It's not like there was one guy who was like, yeah, I was supposed to play the role of the bad guy, but then the real villain showed up. Here's the piece of evidence that cinches it. Even when the theater gets taken over, they're still selling merch! Sure, we're all being held hostage, but the shop stays open. How convenient. One issue I have with this theory is that it kind of takes away the stakes of the game. Obviously, if this is all just an immersive theater experience, then Peach was never in any real danger, and then she's not really a hero. That's kind of lame, right? It really ruins the story, except it doesn't at all if you think of who is really behind this. It's none other than Mario. Yes, that's right. Mario used his bricklaying connections and the many coins he made from the widely successful Mario Toy Company to build this theater just so he could trick Peach into becoming capable of saving herself from Bowser. And it worked. That would mean that each game where Princess Peach is playable would take place after Princess Peach Showtime, whereas every game where Peach gets kidnapped takes place before Princess Peach Showtime. Super Mario Bros. 2 can still go anywhere on the timeline, as it all happened in a dream. Whose dream? Mario's! Mario has been dreaming to see Peach go on her own adventure since 1986. It's actually really sweet. Oh yeah, also, I think Grape is Luigi in drag. No, I will not elaborate. Of course, the theory I just said isn't true, and wasn't intended by the developers. I thought about not even making this video because I'm not really a game theory guy. I more so like to talk about how video games present themselves as a media of entertainment and how we as players engage with them. While this video definitely did a little wacky theorizing, I do want to say that what I really have to say about Princess Peach Showtime is that the developers and game writers knocked it out of the park in terms of how they use their setting to immerse players. I myself am a theater person. As someone who has been around theaters for my entire life, I have always wanted to see a video game based around it, and Princess Peach Showtime nailed it. The music, the level design, and the changing styles of gameplay all reflect live theater in a way that is fun and engaging. The developers didn't put in all these theater elements to subtly hint that this is all some elaborate ruse. The developers put in these elements because they were dedicated to their game's theming, and they wanted you to feel like you were both playing a video game adventure and standing on top of a real stage. You've got to suspend your disbelief a little in order to get it, but hey, that's theater. Hey, if you like this video, maybe you'd like to see my top 10 Mario Kart custom item settings. And yes, all blue shells is as chaotic as it sounds. Or check out my analysis on extra lives and if they belong in modern Mario games. Spoiler alert, they don't. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.